Hey everyone, welcome to Cameron's Sandwich Show, the show where I review sandwiches. This week we're looking at a New Orleans classic, the Po' Boy.
Escape from reality. Open your eyes. Look up to the skies and see. This is a po' boy.
So I wanted to buy an actual Po' Boy to use as a visual aid for this show. Unfortunately, the nearest Po' Boy shop is like a mile away. It's like 20 degrees outside. Didn't really want to go there. So I'll put some like Google images of Po' Boys up on the screen. Again, sorry about that. So based on my extensive research, Po' Boys are pretty much like the Subway sandwich of New Orleans, in the sense that you can put pretty much anything on them. I think the main criteria for being called a po' boy is that it's on New Orleans French bread, which has sort of like a really crunchy crust with a light, sort of fluffy inner bread area. But yeah, when I think of a po' boy, I mainly think of fried seafood. So that's a really common traditional ingredient for the filling. I think shrimp, oyster, all that sort of stuff. Catfish, maybe. From what I understand, roast beef is also really common as a filling. But never had one of those before. As far as toppings go, the roast beef po' boys are traditionally like smothered in gravy. The seafood po' boys usually come drizzled with butter, and both of them you can get, like pretty standard toppings on them, like lettuce, tomatoes, pickles. Mayo is a big one. Really, the main thing for me that sets apart po' boys from other sandwiches is the use of seafood, the more frequent use of seafood, which isn't often found in sandwiches, at least around here. And if you're interested in learning more, gumbopages.com has a pretty good article from 1994 about po' boys and New Orleans history, and I'll have a link to that in the description. So I feel a pretty special connection to po' boys. Fun fact, my Wi-Fi SSID is actually po' boys. But I still remember the first time I ate a po' boy. It was the summer of like 2009, somewhere around then, and my cousins were in town, and we went to the De Young Museum in San Francisco. We went to the cafe. We took a seat outside. I think it was pretty close to the door, so as you're walking out through the back of the cafe, onto that big patio, just like a little to the right of the door, we sat there, and I ordered some sort of salmon po' boy. So I actually went online to look for some of the old menus on the De Young website, just to get like the exact list of ingredients on the sandwich. Unfortunately, it was like 7-8 years ago. I couldn't find the menu, but I do know it was a salmon po' boy. Had some great sauce on it. It might have been like a remoulade or however you say that. But needless to say, it was really good. I mean, obviously, I still remember it, and I remember wanting another one of those sandwiches for a long time afterwards. So now comes a segment where I, someone who's had only probably like one or two, maybe two po' boys in my entire life, rates the entire species of sandwich. So even though I talked about, my personal experiences with the po' boy, as a professional, sort of put that aside for now and give you a really objective rating on a scale of 1 to 10 of the sandwich as a whole. So to start with some pros, I think there are three main like upsides to this sandwich. First of all, it's got like a sick name. I don't think I need to explain that anymore. Second of all, use of seafood is really key. I would really love to see some more popular sandwiches that put seafood to good use. And finally, I think the gravy on the roast beef version of the sandwich is really important. As I've always said, sauce is the most important part of any sandwich. This is no exception. So now for some of the cons. I think it's really important for me as a reviewer of like sandwich species, not just individual sandwiches, to consider not just sort of the best that po' boys can offer, but also the worst. So One thing that I could really imagine being a problem with some of the lower end po' boys is really the dryness of the sandwich. When you've got, like fried breaded shrimp and that really fluffy New Orleans French bread, and you don't have enough sauce on it, it's really gonna just gum up in your mouth and just be really unpleasant. The second con, which also is part of what makes the sandwich so alluring, is the availability. Especially up here in Boston, it's pretty hard to find a good po' boy. Hard to find any po' boy, really. It's just such a highly regional sandwich. And this is Boston, we have great access to fresh seafood. Just imagine what it's like in other places, So all things considered, I give the po' boy a Cameron sandwich rating of 8 out of 10. It's got some really unique flavors. It just really speaks to me on a lot of levels. But, those downsides, you got to factor them in too. So thanks for watching this week's episode of Cameron Sandwiches. Again, sorry I couldn't get an actual sandwich on the show. I'll try to fix that next time. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Remember to like and subscribe.